All right, thank you for staying with us. You're watching M Live on NTV, still looking at exactly what's in the dailies. Another story here, Raila's tough task of warding off Ruto onslaught in Gusii, and President has dished out key positions to leaders from the region. Well, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leader Raila Odinga will have to work hard to maintain his stranglehold on Gusii land after President William Ruto moved to cut his influence by dishing out state goodies. President Ruto has already nominated former Nyaribari Masaba MP Ezekiel Mashoga as Education Cabinet as Education Cabinet Secretary, and South Mugirango MP Silvana Sosoro as a whip in the National Assembly. Now, the nominations of these two gentlemen are a clear message by President Ruto that he intends to wrestle the region from Odinga's grip. Dismas. We saw him yesterday as well in Homa Bay County, and of course that reception, I must say, was quite exciting from the supporters in that region, something that perhaps we would not have witnessed before. What is your take on this?
Now let's go back to history. How did President Ruto win? He started off by maintaining the traditional base of Jubilee, that is the Mount Kenya as well as Rift Valley, and he ensured that he's got a very strong grip. He then converted what was Raila's traditional stronghold into battlegrounds. So he converted Western Kenya into a battleground. He converted Kisii into a battleground, and that's how he won. And you would remember the earthquake moment at the Bomas of Kenya when Honorable Musalia Mudavadi decided to join President Ruto under Kenya Kwanza, and created opportunities for many people to come in. Now, the fact that President Ruto has nominated Honorable Ezekiel Machogu as a cabinet secretary immediately elevates Machogu to the regional kingpin, because now everybody is going to be looking at him as the natural leader. And you know, Machogu comes with a very impressive CV, because he's been a public servant of rank. He started all the way from Adio, and then because of his age, he's respected. And you know that community respects mature people who behave with discipline in the public space, so he's highly regarded. So probability of Machogu maintaining the Kisii Nation in the Kenya Kwanza matrix is extremely high. But now looking at the Ruto visits to Nyanza, that was very interesting, because his last visit to Nyanza, which was in Kisumu during the campaign, the reception was a bit hostile, because some people had the alacrity, in fact, to throw some rocks at his motorcade. But this time round, yesterday, the reception was very nice. Again, I pointed to Kenya as a maturing democracy. That in fact, the Kenyan voter understand that elections is a competitive process. So if you participate in an election and you're declared the winner, they respect that. But for me, what I found most important during that visit, apart from the hospitality accorded to President Ruto, is the speech he made that he respects the position taken by voters, that he's going to work with the elected leaders, right from the MCA level all the way to the top. And in my view, that is something that the leadership must take seriously and start addressing the socio-economic concerns of the region. Now, Zainab, is very interesting that you have Lake Victoria, which produces top-of-the-range fish. And I've always wondered, I keep on asking myself, times above number, how come you've got Lake Victoria in Kenya, yet we import fish? I understand up to 82% of the fish consumed in Kenya is imported. Yet you've got a Lake Victoria, a very serious asset. So if I were a leader from that part of the world, if I had capacity to influence their thinking, then they must go to President Ruto and ask the president to support them to engage in strategic fish farming in Lake Victoria. Ask ourselves, how come we don't have sufficient stocks of fish in Lake Victoria? How can we grow the stock and start processing that fish? Use the international airport in Kisumu, or rather harvest the fish, process it nicely, package it nicely, and then sell it in the European Union, sell it in the UK. From Kisumu to maybe Edinburgh or Heathrow is about 8 hours away. Now, in my view, that must be a priority, because you have a strategic asset called Lake Victoria. it's so depressing that 10 years after devolution, that asset has not been utilized. Governors have got resources. There is a CDF, although now CDF probably is not aligned to that anymore. But that is an asset that they must use. And that one is not limited just to that part of the world, all over Kenya. Why do we rely on rain-fed irrigation in some parts of, say, Wajir? I mean, why can't we sweat our resources? So in my view, what President Ruto, I mean, the offer he made yesterday, the leaders must run with it. And I don't know whether it's a coincidence that the local governor and the area MP were away, or whether they were informed, or they just decided to give the visit a wide berth. But in my view, Mura has already taken a decision on who is the president of Kenya. All of us must pull in the same direction.
I mean, looking at that, isn't it automatic that as a president, he's the national figure, he's a president for all, not just a section of the people who voted for him? Is it interesting that we look at it in the way that for the regions that did not overwhelmingly support him or did not vote for him, that perhaps they would be sidelined? Or why are we looking at it that, okay, Zainab, it's a coincidence?
A few people would be disappointed.
Right.
But he has told them, forget about the disappointment, I'm here to serve you.
Okay. Now, the Ruto's options are not so many, though he's the head of state. In terms of how he handles the Gusii region, his options also are not so open, in the sense that right now, I think the Gusii people are very happy, because apart from the two, Osoro and Machogu, you see that he has allowed his party to nominate two other ladies, Oruoba and Gloria Oruoba, and a lady called Okenyuri.
Esther Okenyuri.
Esther Okenyuri. I mean, that's a big favor when you look at, you know, it's sort of like how his party performed in Gusii land. But I just want to mention this, and it's not popular, I know, but how President William Ruto handles Fred Matiang'i, the former security minister, is a factor. We may not see this at the moment, but the Gusii people have this historical feeling that we used to have great men like Omanga, and then we got Nyachai. And if you work your historical mathematics properly, you will realize that Fred Matiang'i came from that Nyachai clique, if I may use that term very loosely. So that a community has a historical perspective. It is not going to be changed every other time that, oh, today now we don't have Mokua, now we have another person has come up. Mr. Machogu is very important and strategic minister now, especially for education. That is recognized by the Gusii people. But there is no way that the Gusii sons and daughters will be crushed and, you know, forgotten to some, forgotten memory. The ministers who have come from Gusii land, whether you talk of Joseph Kiangoi, who used to be a minister before, assistant minister, I think, all these are the wealth of the Kisii people. So how the UDA government will handle Fred Matiang'i in terms of will there be reprisal and revenge, or it will let him be, and then we proceed with the Machogu type of leadership now, and Osoro and Oruoba and Okenyuri and the rest of those who will be appointed, is critical for how the people of Nyanza will respond to William Ruto's leadership. And therefore, in terms of Raila Odinga, as it is today, I mean, I don't know if I'm out of order really, but I think that Raila Odinga is now going into being an elder and a statesman. And whatever he chooses to do is probably going to be endorsing who to come from where. But how the sons and daughters of a region will be handled. Even, you can see that Dalmas Otieno was there. You can see that several other leaders, you know, Eliud Owalo, of course, now is in government, but people like Dalmas Otieno, who is not in government, actually came in to shake his hand. So I think we want to see a unified Gusii region and a unified Nyanza, and how the government of the day treats the children of any community will actually determine whether those particular people will be supporting the projects of the government or they'll be protesting against it.